Hello, my name is Brock. Welcome to my channel. This is probably the first video that you'll ever actually watch from me. And today, what I'm going to be talking about is mental health in grad school. This is something that I'm going through right now. I just completed my first semester of a master's in economics, and I want to apply for a PhD, but I'm under this crippling mental stress and anxiety, and it's just shitty sometimes. And so I just want to talk about why that's really important when you're considering doing a master's or a PhD, or just in general, maybe some coping mechanisms. I don't know. It's really important to address because everybody talks about it, but it feels like nothing's done. And talking to people in my program, everyone seems to be super anxious all the time and stressed out, and people are like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, and just crazy shit that shouldn't be going on, right? So I want to talk about how we can kind of work through that, or maybe just take a different approach to what's going on. Let's get started here. I started the program about 4 months ago. So this is me being, relatively new. I'm just kind of discovering things going on. But let me tell you that time goes very fast. All of a sudden, boom, like it just in the semester. So we had this like little introductory kind of program where we did this math stuff and to kind of bring you up to speed. This is common for any grad program for economics, and I'm sure there's other types of stuff for maybe like engineering masters and things like that. And so you're brought here, and after a couple days they're like, hey, you got to write an exam, and if you don't pass, you got to rewrite it later on in the future. And especially for international students, this is really hard news to swallow. And now we're told this beforehand too. And, one could say that, all right, if you're going to a graduate program, you should know that the stakes are a bit higher. But you have a lot of people coming from other countries, and they think they're going to get kicked out of the program and just get sent away. And that's pretty insane to me, to imagine that someone has this feeling. Like, at least for me, I'm from Canada. So, if I get kicked out of this program, hypothetically speaking, I'm fine. I'm just going to hang around here, look for a job or whatever, right? Or I'll move back home, because I did actually move across the country. Now, anyway, that being said, I just wanted to hammer down this whole point here, in that you're not really given time to adjust. After we finished this exam, we had about 2-3 days, and then classes started. We had to be TAs, we had to do our normal assignments and everything like that. And it's a lot for some people. And I was okay initially, I will be honest, because I took a year off after I graduated from my undergrad, and then I decided that I wanted to do a master's. I was really bored with my job, and so I knew that I wanted to be there. So I went in with this expectation that it was going to be hard, but it can't be that hard, right? I've been through worse. I was wrong, very wrong. Shit hit the fan a couple weeks in, a month in, when we had our first midterms, and then I had to start grading assignments and things like that. It just got bad, and to the point where you almost started to feel like you were studying and you weren't getting anything out of studying. Like you didn't get the results that you expected. And that's really bad. I mean, when you work your ass off and then all of a sudden you get these grades back and they're not reflective of how much effort you put in, it hurts. It really does hurt. And especially when you have really sticky TAs or markers where they take off arbitrary grades just because they want to, because they think that you don't understand the question when you answered it almost identically to what was going on. Now, I never argued these, but other people did. And it kind of led to nothing, right? And people got really stressed out about this. And the worst part is that a lot of these people in the program don't actually want to do a PhD, but they want to get a job, say in Canada or elsewhere. And so your GPA does actually matter still, because when you apply to jobs, you have to show them, okay, I graduated from this program, here's my grades, right? If your grades kind of suck, then be like, well, did you really get anything out of the program? I mean, come on, right? So, I mean, it's twofold, right? So there's people that want to apply for PhDs, such as boy right here, and then there's people that want to get jobs or do whatever, right? There's multiple different facets going on, and so it can be really daunting. You get your grades back and they're not reflective at all of what you actually expected, and it hurts. So I reached a really low point when I felt like everything was futile and it just didn't matter anymore what I was doing. You kind of hit these like peaks and troughs going on when you're going through a graduate program, I find. And I mean, I'm only a semester in, but this is just something that I'm experiencing so far. When I started to lose myself in the middle of the semester, because I was pretty good at maintaining the stress throughout. Like, I was stressed out, but I said, okay, it doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. This doesn't determine your life. You're gonna do okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Easier said than done to tell yourself that though, right? It's really, really hard sometimes. I actually had a huge anxiety attack on a test and I got a really, really low grade. It really affected me. And I was sad for like a good week and a half about this one grade because I said, oh, well, this is a core course for a PhD. Like, I can't get into a PhD program now. And, I just moved to this part of Canada. I don't want to leave. I want to do a PhD out here. I really, really like it out here. And so a lot of thoughts were going through my head, and these were the exact thoughts that were going through my head when I was writing the exam too. The next week I had another test, and I don't know what changed in my perspective, but I realized, hold the phone. This is just a test. Be calm about it. You know what you're doing, right? You know what you're writing, and you're not going to get perfect. You will never, ever, ever get 100 in grad school. Maybe unless you're like a genius, and there are people that do get it, but the vast majority of people are going to be getting, like if a test is out of 100, you might be getting a 60 or 70, but that might become the A. So you got to remember too that things are marked on a relative scale. And you also, with that being said, you should not base your self-worth on what your classmates are doing. That's the most toxic thing you can possibly do. And I was really guilty of doing this in undergrad a bit. You start to compare your grades and you say, oh, this person didn't study as hard. Come on, why are they getting a better grade? And so I started to do that here too, and I lost myself. And so something I've really learned is that you have to stay in your own lane when you're in grad school, and you have to focus on your own learning. You can't just sit there and want the highest grade and expect the highest grade, because there's always going to be someone smarter than you, right? And you got to realize that when you're in a grad program, all of these smart people from all over the world or all over the country are now congregating in this one place. So there's a bit of selection bias, right? You have people selecting into this program who are typically of higher ability or something like that. All I'm saying is that you're going to be around really smart people, and sometimes people can suffer from an imposter syndrome. What do you do about it, right? What do you do about these anxiety attacks and these panic attacks that go on? Well, you have to take care of yourself. I think that's a really important thing. And just trying to go day by day. You have to realize that not everything is going to be perfect and easy for you. And that's just the way that it is, especially in grad school, right? I wish someone told me that beforehand. And you know what? Even though I'm telling you this too, you probably won't remember it by the time you go through this exact same thing if you decide to do this. And so it's really it's kind of a day-by-day process. You learn as you go, and I think that's basically it. I mean, that's the best way to do it. But you have to remember to take time for yourself. A lot of people, I would see them study. They wouldn't sleep. I saw people actually stay at the offices. So we have offices, and a lot of grad students do, because we're TAs, right? So we have people coming to our office to get help or whatever, or seek questions about whatever, right? And so I would see people like stay at the offices all night, and then because they could, but also because they wanted to study, and people would not sleep, and they were sacrificing their own sanity for a grade. And in fact, these people tended to not do as well because they weren't taking care of themselves. So that's very important. The number one thing is just maintaining your own physical well-being, and with that is mental well-being as well. Take time, go for a long walk, go find some nice forest or serene lake, something like that. I actually go to school on a mountain, so I'm quite lucky. There's like a conservation area. I go for a walk there when I'm stressed. Don't smoke cigarettes. That's not the way to deal with your problems. And in general, you just have to remember that it's, not a big deal. Not everything is going to kill you, or it's not going to kill you if you get a bad grade, and it's not the end of the world. And if you want to apply to a PhD, but your first semester grades aren't great, well, then maybe you consider applying next year and, just taking a year to work after you graduate from your master's program is a year. Or if it's 2 years and you have the opportunity to, extend it and do a thesis or whatever, you could do something like that. I personally don't see value in doing a 2-year master's in economics when you could just go to the PhD and gain a lot from that. But this is exclusive to economics, but I mean, other programs are different perhaps, right? So at the end of the day, I think the really important thing to do is really just focus on taking care of yourself. I think people tend to lose sight of that, in the long run. People forget that, your body is kind of like a machine and you need to take care of it. It sounds very cliche and everyone will tell you the same thing, but it's so true. Dealing with these feelings is very common, and it doesn't feel that way. Grad school can be very isolating too, and that's actually something that I'm personally struggling with right now, is that you're in a very small program, you see the same people every day, and just because they're in your program doesn't mean that you have to be friends with these people or that you like these people. And that's normal too. That is totally gonna happen. There's some people that I may want to hang out with, there's other people that I won't. And this is in life too, right? You choose your friends. But it's hard to make friends when you have such a small program. So I think the big thing there too is to put yourself out there and just talk to people. If you move to a new city, I mean, there's ways you can meet people, and I know you'll be busy, especially in the first semester. Getting used to everything, you're going to be so busy that you think, oh, I don't have time for clubs or anything like that. And when I say clubs, I don't mean like, going out and dancing and all that sort of stuff, though that's fun too. If you don't have time for those, well then that's the way it is. But just talk to people, like even just talk to like PhD students, upper year PhD students or whatever, or if there's like graduate student society type things, like go to those sorts of things. Honestly, sometimes I even just like to go to cafes and talk to people. And I know that sounds weird, right? I mean, most people don't like to do that, but talking to people leads to a lot of interesting things, and some of the coolest people I've ever met have been just from striking up a conversation. And don't get me wrong, you have to be in the right mindset for that. I'm not always the most, like, oh, blah, like I'm out there, I'm not out there. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But I mean, there's a lot of dust flying around. I apologize for this dust. I thought, my room is clean, I swear, but this little floaty dust thing, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think the big thing there is just putting yourself out there, and when you're in your 20s and you move to a new city, sometimes the reality is that you're going to spend a Saturday alone or a Friday alone, and whether that be studying or eating a bag of Doritos, watching Netflix. For anyone going through a PhD program, master's program, or whatever, I just wish you all the best, and you got to keep pushing through it. I'm going to keep pushing through it. You got to keep pushing through it. You right there. And yeah, I just, that's all I wanted to say. It's just a really important thing to talk about. And here I am going to rambling to my cell phone and on a Sunday night after just doing a PhD application because I'm sadistic. So yeah, hang in there. Keep doing what you're doing. Path to success is just keep your head up, and success is relative too. Don't benchmark your success based on what someone else says or what someone else is doing, right? Keep that idea of success in your own mind as yours. That's really important. But if you enjoyed this, I really do encourage you to subscribe and hit the little bell thing down there. I don't know where it is, somewhere there. Look, can you tell this is my first time? But look, if you like what you see, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, something like that. I want to hear about other people's struggles and maybe we can get through this together. Anyways, until next time, peace.